Good afternoon. I would like to call to order the meeting of council for the date of March 3rd, 2026. I think the second order of business is the approval of the agenda. All council members have had an opportunity to review. Are there any additions or deletions? Okay, seeing none, I will call the motion to accept the minutes. Councillor Hall, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Item number 3, the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of February 17th, 2026. Any discussion regarding the past minutes? If not, I'll call the motion to approve the minutes of February 17th. Councillor Waxer? All in favor? Item 3.2, Committee of the Whole minutes. Are there any discussions regarding the minutes of the Committee of the Whole on February 17th, 2026? Or pardon me, February 24th, 2026? Seeing none, I'll call the motion to accept the minutes. Councillor Roger? All in favor? Thank you. Okay, item 4, we have delegations. I see Director Fark. No? Pardon me. Pardon me, we have the West Central Airshed Society Committee, Yvonne Barker and Selena Fairbanks. By Zoom, I see. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Ladies.
Okay.
Do we have...
can everyone hear me and see my screen?
We can hear you, but quite faint. Maybe just speak up a little, be great.
I can hold my... Is that a bit better?
Yeah, a little better.
Okay. I will do my best. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having us here today. My name is Selena Fairbank. I am one of the engagement coordinators at West Central Airshed Society, or WestCast, as you will hear me refer to it today. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present, and we are here to share information about WestCast and air monitoring in Alberta. So first of all, we're just going to start with why air quality matters. So we all breathe air quality. We all breathe air every day. It affects everyone, regardless of your age or background. There are also many health effects linked to poor air quality, such as respiratory and cardiovascular effects. And we know that there are certain populations at a higher risk. Not everyone is impacted equally. So this can include older adults, children, and people with pre-existing health conditions. Air quality also impacts our daily life. I know the community of Jasper is intimately familiar with that. During poor air quality events, we may have to limit our outdoor activities and sports. More people may be missing school or work as they don't feel well. And we often see increases in healthcare visits and costs. Lastly, we are seeing an increasing frequency of poor air quality days due to wildfires and changing climate. Wildfires do release large amounts of fine particulate matter into the air, which can travel great distances and pose serious health risks, especially to high-risk populations. So how do we manage and monitor air quality locally? In Alberta, airsheds are organizations that help us understand and address air quality. WestCast is a nonprofit, multi-stakeholder organization that monitors local air quality by measuring air pollutants and weather conditions. We report and share data with government, Indigenous communities, academics, the public, industries, and other stakeholders. Our network of monitoring stations collects data that is used to calculate the air quality health index for many communities, including Jasper. We also actively engage with communities to raise air quality awareness, share data, and provide education. So as a nonprofit, Westcast does receive funding from 3 primary streams: monitoring agreements, grants, and membership fees, which include emitters and others such as municipalities. There are 10 airsheds within Alberta, and together we form the Alberta Airsheds Council. Airsheds operate over 85 continuous monitoring stations and hundreds of other monitoring sites, and over 85% of Alberta's population does live within an airshed. So air quality monitoring is our core operation. We have 11 continuous monitoring stations in West Central Airshed, which provide near instantaneous measurements of many different pollutants, including sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, ozone, fine particulate matter, and more. Our monitoring stations are also equipped with meteorological equipment to assess the impact of local weather conditions on air. And the data we collect is used to calculate the AQHI. This image on the screen is our Hinton Hillcrest station. We also have a growing network of fine particulate matter, or PM2.5 microsensors. They're affordable, easy to use, and allow for community level air quality monitoring. We can place them in different neighborhoods to see more detailed variations in air quality, identify hotspots, and help understand local sources. They're also a great source of air quality data during wildfire smoke events. Just checking in that you guys can still hear me okay? Okay.
Yes, you're coming in.
Thank you. So this map shows our geographic boundaries of the West Central Airshed, which covers communities, industries, and landscapes across the region. You'll also see the larger dots are our continuous monitoring stations. Again, they're collecting high quality, real-time data, and these stations do form the backbone of our long-term air quality trends and reporting. The map also highlights our approximately 30 microsensor monitoring locations. Those would be the smaller dots. These sensors do allow us to fill in monitoring gaps in smaller communities where there is not a AQHI station. So until recent years, there was actually no air quality monitoring in Jasper. In October 2021, Westcast installed 2 PM2.5 microsensors in the community, with a third added in July 2023. Following the Jasper wildfire, Alberta Environment and Protected Areas did deploy their portable air monitoring lab in November 2024. And this was the first time Jasper actually had an AQHI reading for the community itself. Prior to that, Jasper did rely on Hinton to supply an AQHI, which of course it's about 80 kilometers away. On October 22nd, 2025, the Alberta government did remove their air monitoring lab, and we deployed our portable monitoring station in the same location, as you can see in that image. Our portable is scheduled to remain in Jasper until late fall 2026. We are working with local stakeholders and supporters to explore the possibility of establishing a permanent air monitoring station in Jasper. So the Alberta Airshed model does generally see monitoring primarily paid for by industrial emitters, whether it's required in part of their permits or on a voluntary basis. A new permanent monitoring station costs approximately $375,000 to set up, and operations costs per year are around $75,000. So with Jasper not having any industry, we do need a novel approach here to look at how we can fund a permanent station. I'm going to share a little bit about the AQHI data that has been collected in Jasper over the last year. So the AQHI is a reminder for those who may not know. It's a scale from 1 to 10 plus that denotes the health risk associated with the current air quality from low to very high risk. The Jasper AQHI is calculated using the data collected at the station we're operating, and it is derived from 3 pollutants: fine particulate matter, ozone, and nitrogen dioxide. So looking at this calendar plot, we can see blue is low AQHI, which is good air quality. Throughout most of the year, this is what we're seeing in Jasper. We can also see some smoke events did occur in June and September 2025. So again, while Jasper's monitoring history is relatively short, this data does provide an important baseline for understanding local conditions. It can help support preparedness and guide decision making. And it also, I'd like to point out, it really highlights how many good days of air quality Jasper does get. So what else do we do at Westcast beyond monitoring? We have a robust education and outreach program and engage with our members in a variety of ways. We attend many of our members' events throughout the year and share information about air quality. We have free air quality educational resources for teachers, our clean air webinar series, monthly newsletters, and many other resources available on our website. We can also work with our member municipalities to assist with siting of air monitoring microsensors to help create or optimize a municipal air monitoring network. We can provide support for climate resilience planning and resources to help meet actions, such as through education and awareness. We also have our members portal where we have live data displays and user guides, and our community guide to wildfire smoke. This is a members only resource that we recently developed. It's designed to support Alberta's municipalities and other organizations in planning for and responding to wildfire smoke events. Another program we're really proud to share about is our AQHI Cloud Light program, which is continuously expanding in our region. So these innovative cloud-shaped lights change color with the local AQHI and offer a quick visual reference for current air quality. So whether in a library or a reception area, they can provide an approachable entry point for people to engage with air quality and health information. In late February, we installed a second cloud light in Jasper at the Recreation Center, and there's already one in place at the Alpine Summit Lodge. And we would like to thank all the staff who have supported this and our other monitoring programs in Jasper. I would also like to mention that Westcast is exploring hosting a community open house in Jasper in April. We'd like to invite residents, local leaders, and visitors to learn more about air quality monitoring, awareness, and education. And we were hoping to have tours of the air monitoring station. We are going to ask council for thoughts and feedback on hosting this event when we wrap up here. With that, so again, thank you for having me today. In closing, the 2023 and 2024 wildfire seasons really showed the importance of public education and preparedness. At Westcast, we have expanded our outreach through awareness campaigns, better online data tools, stronger community partnerships, and through adding AQHI data to local websites. We do remain focused on expanding our monitoring, building partnerships, and supporting data-driven decisions to protect residents and visitors. So we do look forward to working with you in the future, including exploring a permanent air monitoring station for the community. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Ms. Fairbank. Councillors, any questions for Ms. Fairbank regarding her presentation today? Councillor Waxer.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette, and through you to CAO Given. Is the municipality of Jasper currently a member of the Airshed? And if so, for how long have we been members?
Thank you, Yvonne, if you don't mind taking this.
Hello, and thank you for the question. Yes, the municipality of Jasper is one of our members and has been for a couple of years now. I think it was 2023 you came on board. And we thank you for your membership.
Thank you for that.
Any other councillors? Councillor Roger.
Thank you, Mr. Frechette, and through you to the presenter. Does being a member carry a cost? Are we contributing financially right now?
Yes, for municipal members, it would be an annual fee of $1,500.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Frechette. I'm curious if the increase in exhaust from all the heavy equipment currently operating through town has any measurable impact on our air quality levels.
Without looking at the data in detail, I'm sure it does, but I would have to speak with our data scientist to see if it has been picked up by the monitoring station. I'm sorry, I don't have a more in-depth answer for you.
Any other councillors? Councillor Waxer?
Yes, you spoke during your presentation around creative solutions for finding a permanent monitoring station in Jasper, and I wondered if you had any thoughts about that, or you were hoping we would come up with a creative solution.
I'm going to let Yvonne answer that question as well. She's more familiar with that.
So thank you for your question. Right now, Westcast has been looking at different granting opportunities. We just had a meeting yesterday for an update on that. We do have a couple of irons in the fire, but nothing has come through as of yet. We were hoping to have the open house to invite local stakeholders in to, talk about this situation and determine the level of interest from Jasper Municipality as well as Jasper National Park, Tourism Jasper, and some of the tour accommodations as well, such as Pursuit and Jasper Park Lodge. We've been in contact with all of them and brought them in the loop. We're just kind of looking at a date as to when we could provide an open house and an open discussion with all local stakeholders. And we were kind of asking with our presentation as to the level of interest from the municipality of Jasper of coming to the table and having that conversation with Westcast. Thank you.
Councillor Roger?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette, and through you to the presenter. Just on a practical basis, I mean, we know that Jasper is a national park and the air is generally clean, but if there's all this $400,000 or $500,000 spent, and it turns out that we do notice, there is smoke in the air, or the air is unclean once in a while. What is the practical effect of that? I mean, what can we do about it? The only industry here that pollutes is CN, I would think, and I don't think they're likely to change their system. So I'm just wondering if a lot of money is put into this, what is the effect?
Thank you, Councillor. It's a great question. I would say it is difficult to, I would recognize that the province does recognize Jasper as a gap in the provincial monitoring network. So they see the importance of having an air monitoring station there. Whether or not there's any actions that can be taken to improve air quality if we do see poor air quality in Jasper, I don't have a good answer for you. Obviously, primarily we're seeing wildfire smoke as the cause in Jasper National Park.
And if I may, I would like to add on to Selena's comments there. I look at it as education and awareness and providing a solution-based approach so that if the air quality, we do have a smoke event or a wildfire close by, we're providing not only the residents but visitors to the area how to prepare for these events. Not necessarily deterring them from coming, but providing them with the information so that they can still have their vacation or their backcountry adventure while protecting themselves. So that's where the education and awareness component comes in, as well as all of our graphics, our website that is 24/7. They can check the air quality there. I believe the municipality of Jasper is putting the AQHI icon on their website, which would allow all the residents at a quick glance to go from the municipality's website to see what the air quality is on any given moment throughout any week within Jasper. So we're just beginning with that air quality awareness and education within the Jasper area. Thank you.
Councillor Melnick?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette. This being my first opportunity to speak, everyone can hear me. Is everything all good?
Maybe just speak up a little bit more. Councillor Melnick, please.
Okay, I can definitely do that. I'd like to thank Ms. Fairbank and Ms. Barker for the presentation, and I think with the work here, highlights is that we're in an area where we have a lot of visitation. And while we may not particularly contribute negatively to the air quality, we are in an airstream. When fire events happen in British Columbia or in Oregon, Washington, we tend to get a lot of smoke here. And I've been through way too many summers where there's been no fire in the park, but there are people who have symptoms that are deeply affected by the smoke in the air, and to the point where sometimes we have smoke where you can't see the mountains. So I do appreciate the work and the importance of the West Central Airshed Society, and I'm hoping that there's a way that a permanent installation could be funded between community partners. And I'll leave it at that at this point, but I do want to thank you for the work that you've done. And we were particularly worried about our air quality after the fire and during debris removal. And so I appreciate the work of the organization during the time that we were recovering. And like I say, I look forward to an opportunity where we can maybe come up with a creative solution to have a permanent installation.
Thank you, Mayor. Pardon me. Thank you, Councillor Melnick. Any other questions for the presenters from council? Okay. I would like to thank you, ladies, very much for your presentation today. Very, very informative. May I have an motion to take the information presented today as information? Councillor Waxer, all in favor? Carried. All. Thank you. Thank you. Did you have another question? Oh, sorry. Councillor Hall has another question.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette. Not a question for the presenters, but a question for admin. Are we already actively partnered or working with this group? Like, is there another motion that maybe needs to be made, or is what we're doing enough at this moment? And I know that the group is looking to find creative solutions for putting a permanent structure in place. I'm just curious if we need to make another motion or.
Deputy Mayor Frechette, for Councillor Hall, certainly up to council. You've heard the presentation from the organization, a bit of a overarching sort of idea about their future plans. At this time, the municipality of Jasper isn't currently involved directly in those plans. Council wanted us to take a more active role, then you could give administration direction to do so. If council wanted to do that, maybe a referral to administration for a report back at a future meeting. The presentation had some numbers and a project. I didn't hear an explicit request, so you may want to ask the presenter if they're actually asking for anything, or maybe they're just informing at this stage. But I'll say that other than paying our membership fee and participating on a few of the smaller projects, admittedly smaller projects where we can, at low or no cost, sort of accommodate placement of monitoring equipment in the municipality, there's no active sort of ongoing regular participation from the municipality.
If I may, then yeah, I guess I will ask the presenters if you're looking for more support from municipality. I know that it's, money is tight. This is a big expense. I'm just curious if there's any way the municipality could help further without having to pay for a monitoring station.
Thank you. We are definitely not asking the municipality of Jasper for $500,000. We are looking for creative solutions, whether it's gift in kind services. We're pulling together. We are looking for support at this time for you to help us and attend an open house event in Jasper, so we can actually showcase what the monitoring station does and what the benefits are, be able to talk to some of our staff and understand the importance of air quality within the region. And I think that's probably about the extent of our ask at this time, is we are looking for feedback as to, we too are a nonprofit organization and most of our staff work out of the Edmonton area. So that's a cost for us to come to Jasper to provide this open house. I think we're looking for support to say there's interest from the municipality of Jasper, the council, and that we should go ahead with it, or maybe not at this time. I think that's the context of our ask today.
Thank you, Ms. Barker. Is there any other questions for the presenters? Councillor Waxer? Perhaps just a short comment. Obviously, I think we're very fortunate to live in Jasper, where our air quality is probably second to none on the planet, I'm thinking. Obviously, any kind of data or information that we would glean from your group would be instrumental. I don't know definitively what kind of forum we would be able to assist with in terms of your presentation to the community, but I'm sure it's something that we will certainly look into. I can't see any reason why we wouldn't. Councillor Waxer, do you have a new motion?
I'll make a stab at it, and if there's any suggestions, that council direct administration to work with the West Central Airshed Society to highlight its value to the community, and investigate creative funding solutions. Is that? I'm open to suggestions, CAO Given.
CEO Given, is that motion, is that clear enough, or is it something that we should work on?
I guess Deputy Mayor Frechette, I just would wonder a little bit about what the motion would, sort of envision administration doing to highlight the value of the organization to the community. That's quite broad, and so that would, it leaves a little bit to sort of what does council actually imagine administration would do. Fair enough if council thinks that this is a worthwhile endeavor, and I think I heard the presenter say, should we come to Jasper? And if the answer is yes, you should come to Jasper, and the municipality could certainly help promote that event when it's coming up to ensure that there's awareness among the community. So that would be the first part in terms of awareness. Certainly administration could do that. And if that's the intent of the motion of that part, no problem. On the second part of investigate creative funding opportunities, maybe it would be a refer back to administration, costs associated with the establishment of the monitoring site. That way we could work directly with them and bring council additional information. Because in the absence of that part of like coming back, just working with them to investigate things doesn't necessarily say that council ever wants to hear anything more about it. And if that's your intent for council to hear back, us to report back to you, then that should probably be a part of the motion, and report back at a future meeting. So again, just making sure that we're understanding, have the same understanding about what the outcome of the motion would be. And if what I suggested or what I described there was the mover's intent, then we're on the same page.
Sorry, that was my intent, that to work with them to ensure that if they made the effort to come, that it was well profiled in the community and that we potentially invited other stakeholders that we're aware of because of our local interest, and that and that not in suggesting the municipality fund this station, but to look at any possible options that are out there, or partners that maybe all have an interest in this. So I guess I would stick with my original motion, but add and bring back information to a future council meeting.
Councillor Roger.
I think it's still not very clear to what to Mr. Given what he has to do. I think that could make it simple and say we could perhaps provide a room, perhaps this room for them to have their meeting, and we don't want the administration to be directing staff, for a week to work on this. We just want to keep it simple, don't we?
CEO Given.
Deputy Mayor Frechette, to Councillor Rogers' concern, I first off appreciated that Council wants to ensure that administration understands the scope. That's really useful. I think the intent is clear here. We should do what we can to support them, to help increase awareness of this event, and if we can facilitate by providing a space, then that's at no cost. That's something that we might do for lots of different organizations. I wouldn't see that being particularly burdensome for administration or any extra cost, really. So, but again, getting that extra clarity is useful for everybody around the table.
Thank you, CEO Given. So having said that, is our motion succinct enough to, I think the idea of collecting information today and in the presentation has been very beneficial. And I agree with Councillor Roger that perhaps down the road when you would like to make a more wide-ranging presentation to Jasper community generally, then we may well be able to work with you to make that happen. I don't know that there's anything beyond that at this juncture that we can see our way clear going forward, if that is acceptable. Sorry, Councillor, I see Councillor Melnick has her hand up. Go ahead, Councillor Melnick.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette. I'm concerned that the motion on the floor is too vague for what direction to go forward. I fully support having a meeting, supporting informing the community, but beyond that, the motion, from what I understand, directing administration to facilitate potentially funding, in its current form, I couldn't support this motion. I'm not opposed to having an information center. I'm not opposed to working with the Airshed Society, but I think we need to take certain steps, and the motion seems to go respectfully too broad at this point until we have the local information meeting for the community.
Councillor Roger.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette. I'm wondering if we even need a motion here. I mean, this kind of thing would be certainly, I would think, within Mr. Given's general work if somebody approaches the town and starts asking about what we can do. I mean, I don't think we need a motion, really.
Councillor Crosby.
I kind of, through you, Deputy Mayor Frechette, to Council and Councillor Rogers, I think we're making too big of a deal about this. All I think we want to do is let an administration stay in contact with the organization, and yeah, that's it. Just keep talking with them and report back to how they're doing. Is that good enough for you, CAO Gibbons? Like, I'm thinking just stay in contact with them and see what they have to say, and see, then we can carry on.
CEO Given.
Sure. Deputy Mayor Frechette, maybe just try to assist council in terms of process so you can get to what type of decisions you might like to make. I think there's two different ideas in the motion. One alternative for council would be to separate the motion into two parts, because that way you can deal with two parts. One is direct administration, assist the organization in the promotion of their upcoming event. It's pretty clear and sort of stands alone. And administration would understand what that means. The second would be, the second issue there is sort of direct administration discuss the proposed project with the organization, and bring a report back to council on opportunities for the municipality to provide support. So those are two different ideas, this upcoming event and helping them promote it. And then directing administration to work with the organization around funding for the project and bringing information back to council. If you separate that into two different motions, then people can vote in favor of one but not the other if they wish. And you can have sort of debate on two different issues separately rather than sort of getting them overlapping here. So, that would be up to I think any council member can ask to have a motion split, or the mover can offer that. And then that way people can be debating one part of it and then a separate part.
Thank you, CEO Gibbon. Any further discussion regarding that concept? And would anybody like to make the motion to do so?
I have no objection to splitting the motion.
And no,
So the first motion would be that council direct administration to work with the West Central Airshed Society regarding or to promote their upcoming event in Jasper.
Thank you, Councillor Waxer. Do we have a vote, please? All in favor? Motion? Yep, carried. Thank you. If there's no other debates, oh, pardon me. Sorry. Yes, part two, the second part of the motion, please.
That council direct administration to work with the Airshed Society to towards the success of their proposed project and bring a report back to a future meeting.
Councillor Roger.
I think we're premature to vote on that. I think we should let the first motion stand and have the hearing in Jasper and the meeting and things like that. And then after that, we can see how it goes. And then we can decide if we want to get the administration to go to the effort of trying to raise funding and things.
Thank you, Councillor Roger. And if I may, I do agree with Councillor Rogers' thoughts. I think that we're maybe getting one step ahead of the presenters in a sense that I think we can all glean more information down the road when we do have an open house or what have you, or a community presentation from the Airshed organization. I believe that the original motion was adequate. However, I'm one voice, or I guess two voices. So, do we have any further opinion on that, or would you like to revert back to the original motion and just call a show of hands on that? Councillor Melnick.
Just as a matter of procedure, we voted on the first part of the motion already. We should vote on the second motion. And if it's defeated, that's fine. Doesn't mean that we're not in favor of pursuing this initiative. But further to Councillor Roger, your comments, I agree with you. We're prematurely going towards funding when we haven't had the opportunity to have this presented to the community. So I supported the first motion. We still have a second motion. And I think we should vote on that and then see where the chips lie after that.
Thank you, Councillor Melnick. Any discussion? CEO Gibbon.
Sure. Thanks very much, Deputy Mayor Frechette. Just for everybody's clarity, so council has voted on one motion to give administration direction to support the promotion of the upcoming event. So that motion is passed and clear, sort of off the table and dealt with. The one that's now in front of council is the direction to administration to work with the organization towards the project and bring information back to council. So that's what's in front of council, and that's the one that you're discussing and debating now.
Thank you, CAO Given. So in other words, I think in a kind of a long about fashion, we've sort of come back to the first motion, it seems. If we're happy with the language that CEO has just presented for the second motion, if there's no further debate on the second part of the motion, can I call the question? All in favor? Yeah, I see one opposed. Councillor. Okay, all in favor? So we have two opposed.
Deputy Mayor,
Call for all opposed, sorry.
I didn't vote.
Deputy Mayor Frechette, maybe maybe just best to pause, have a revote on that, and say first we're calling for all those in favor, and it might be useful just to identify how many people you see as the chair that are voting in favor. Then you call for anyone who is opposed, and then you can identify who the number of people that you see that are in opposition. That's helpful to the recording secretary. That way we get the numbers recorded.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. I am new here. Okay, I will do that. All in favor? Two in favor, all opposed? Three opposed. Four opposed. Okay, defeated. All right, I will do that. I will apologize to our presenters having to sit through that. Anyway, we will refine this process as we go along, I promise. So if there's no further discussion, I would like to thank you for your presentation, Ms. Barker and Ms. Fairbank, and we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, we'll go to item 5, correspondence.
And there were no items of correspondence that came to administration's attention, Deputy Mayor Frechette.
Okay, no items of correspondence. We'll go to number 6, a new business.
Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor Frechette and members of council. I am happy to be here once again with you today to present this month's JRCC update. Just a reminder that from today on a going forward basis, the updates from the JRCC will occur once a month. So the next one will not occur until April. I will go through the general JRCC update, and then today we have a particular pleasure for council. We have Amy Carnes, who is the Director of Recovery for Parks Canada, and she will be delivering the Parks Recovery Deep Dive for council today. And then we have Dave Argument, who I think many of you are very familiar with as well. Dave is currently the Senior Advisor to the Field Unit Superintendent and is actually acting as Field Unit Superintendent today. So he will be doing a bit of a deep dive also on wildfire risk reduction mitigation work that has been taking place. With that, I will begin the presentation. So on debris removal, I think we're getting very close to the point where this slide will no longer be required on a regular presentation to council. In fact, the last of the debris, the one remaining site in the S block, is currently scheduled to have its debris removal completed by approximately March 10th. Then, of course, there will still be the confirmatory testing that will need to take place after that. But we're getting very, very near the end of the debris removal process. And that is something that we are all very excited for. There are a small number of properties, currently 16, that still have some confirmatory reports that are still pending. So as you can see there on the graph, 361 have received their certificate of completion, which deems them to be safe for human habitation. Moving on to interim housing, the program remains fully subscribed. We currently have 367 households representing 713 individuals in the program. We are looking to have occupancy at Patricia Circle imminently. We are hoping this week. And very, very closely thereafter at the United Church site. We have made offers and are continuing to make offers for all the remaining units, and we expect that those units will be fully occupied shortly. The application portal for the long-term residential camping for the summer at Whistler's and contractor camping at Wabasso are now live on Parks Canada's website and can be accessed. And an important point is that the GOA has confirmed that Jasper will be included in this year's apartment vacancy and rental cost survey. This will be helpful information for us to understand the state of the market in Jasper and can inform decision-making on a going forward basis. This is just a snapshot in terms of what the current unit configuration looks like. 120 dorms, 189 units at Marmot Meadows, 173 in the town site currently occupied, and another 23 that will be occupied very shortly at Patricia Circle and the United Church site. For Council's awareness, as part of the rebuilding program, the municipality is issuing a competitive tender for contractors to support municipal water and sewer infrastructure work that is required in the fire-affected areas. The tender applies to Municipality of Jasper infrastructure within the municipal right-of-ways as part of the rebuilding efforts. Over 50% of wildfire-affected leaseholders have now initiated the permitting process with Parks Canada. That's a significant milestone as well. So there are fewer people remaining who have yet to start the permitting process. And very important to note that Jasper's permitting timelines are significantly outperforming comparable municipalities, and that we are now down to an average of 24 business days over the last 6 months, which is a very, very good timeline for the processing of permits. There's a note there that says work continues to open in interim home hardware. I can confirm that as of today, that interim home hardware is actually open and available for support to residents and their home reconstruction needs. Here again, the graph just showing where we are at. So 179 are still within that prepare and design process. 78 are in the application process, 28 in the building permit process, 74 in active build, and we have 15 occupancies to date. And this graph here just shows how we are progressing with time. So eventually we'll get to the point where that entire graph is green, and we are all, of course, looking forward to that day. Here is some interesting information that we were able to gather from our partners at the Red Cross. They did a survey of 80 of the households that are within that purple category. So that is the yet to start the process category, and phases 1 and 2. And they collected this information in December and January of last year and early this year. So the main constraints that those households are facing are design considerations. Many people have never contemplated building their own home, and now that they are forced to do so, they have to go through the difficult process of deciding what it is that they would want to build. There are a significant number who are seeing financial challenges related to the extent of their insurance coverage, their ability to remortgage, different financial constraints that they are dealing with. There is the need to settle claims with their insurance companies prior to obtaining building permits so that they know exactly how much they have available to them to enable the rebuild. Some lots have actually changed hands since the fire event, and we anticipate that there will be more of those as time goes by. And so new lot owners are not necessarily yet in the position to be able to apply for permits, as they are still trying to figure out what they will move forward with. And on a small number of lots post-fire, there is additional geotechnical complexity that leaseholders are having to deal with, where the geotechnical conditions pre-fire, or when the original subdivision and housing may have been built, are now understood to be different, and those are representing challenges that they need to navigate. So looking at the numbers, obtaining quotes for rebuilding, about 38%. Waiting for a decision on insurance is about 25%. There are about 25% who have no plans to rebuild yet, but would like to. A small percentage, 5, that are not sure what they plan to do and are still needing to work through the process. 4% who have indicated that they are planning to relocate outside of Jasper. 1% that they are planning to buy a new property, and 1% that indicate they do not wish to rebuild. And we will see how those numbers change over time. This is something that we will try to reassess on a relatively frequently basis. In total, 117 building permits have been issued for the rebuild of fire-affected properties. That represents 194 replacement units and 68 net new units, which is very positive, of which 14 of those have received occupancy, and then one of the occupancies is commercial. This chart is showing the current timeline for the completion of a permit once it is submitted. And I can tell you that the 11 business days for a complete and conforming permit is really quite exceptional and practically unheard of in the municipal planning sector. So that is very, very good news. On to social recovery. The Pathfinder Summit was held on February 24th to honor the 84 Jasper residents who have already completed the program. They engaged in information sharing, some collection of qualitative and quantitative information about the experience that they've had so far, which is proving useful in terms of providing direction for the ongoing work on that program. We have completed the updated needs assessment survey. We are just finalizing the data analysis, and we are expecting to be able to provide a report on that fairly soon. The JRCC is working with community partners on a Healing Through Creative Expression program for the spring of 2026. And 82 submissions have been made to the Jasper Recovery Challenges online form. All of the 52 submissions requesting response have now received one. There has been questions going around the community in regards to what happens at the 2-year anniversary of the fire event, and specifically as it relates to insurance. So we wanted to provide council with some additional information in relation to that. So the Alberta Insurance Act stipulates a statutory 2-year limit of statute of limitations post-event for the initiation of any legal action against an insurer. Insurers are required by law to provide written notification to the insured of the statutory limitation. Insured parties with open claims are encouraged to request a voluntary extension of this deadline from their insurance provider. Insured parties who wish to dispute their claim must initiate a statement of claim prior to the 2-year statutory limit date. There's an important consideration here. Each insurance company deals with the 2-year statutory limit in their own way. Some insurance companies will offer a voluntary extension of the deadline, essentially stating that they will not use the statute of limitations to dispute the claim. The insured, the leaseholders or households, are encouraged to get that confirmation from their insurance company in writing in advance of the 2-year date. There are other insurance companies that will not provide that letter of assurance. And for those insurance companies, the insured must issue a statement of claim. So they must move forward with a statement of claim in advance of the 2-year anniversary if they intend to dispute the claim, or if they are concerned that the claim may need to be disputed, even if you are still working towards resolution in order to preserve your rights. Unfortunately, we cannot secure a blanket extension of the deadline because each insurance company manages this according to their own internal policies. However, in past wildfire situations, the Alberta Superintendent of Insurance has provided official notice to insurers, providing the expectation that insurers will consider the request for an extension in good faith and that they will notify the insured of this obligation. The JRCC has requested the Alberta Superintendent of Insurance to prepare that letter specifically for Jasper. They have indicated that they will do so, and we expect to receive that shortly. On the economic recovery side of things, we continue to monitor overall business health and recovery processes in Jasper. There are a number of outreach calls currently underway to fire-affected businesses, and we are collecting good information regarding the challenges that they are currently facing. Planning continues to be in place for assessing and modernizing the municipality of Jasper's business registry and licensing system. The interim industrial park is fully occupied, and I understand that the last business that is just not quite there yet, Adriana Laundry, is very near to being operational, and we are just working with them to get them over the last steps so that they can begin operations. We are full on into the planning for the pop-up village for this coming spring, working with the different vendors to identify ways that we can support them and activate the space. And of course, there is the JRCC Business Recovery Bulletin that we encourage businesses to register for in order to be able to be informed of information as it becomes available. I believe that covers what I would like to cover today for the JRCC update. I will now hand over the mic to Amy Carnes, Director of Recovery.
Thank you for that, Director Fark. I wonder, I don't know the process for taking questions to all three of you, or maybe individually at this juncture. I don't know what would work best for you, but I believe Councillor Hall has a question for Director Fark.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette. It's certainly at Council's discretion. If you'd like to break up the questions, then I'm happy to answer questions from Council now prior to handing it over.
Okay. If there's no objections, that's how we'll proceed. Thank you. Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Frechette, and thank you very much for your presentation, Director Fark. At yesterday's Recovery Advisory Committee meeting, concern was raised regarding parking for the interim housing units on the church lot, and a suggestion came up whether we could explore that upper parking lot. I think last couple of years it's been free resident parking, not paid parking at all, and if that could be maybe turned into that particular zone's parking area.
Thank you, Councillor Hall, for the question. So we are working with all the interested parties, including the operations team, to identify the parking solutions for that location. And we will be able to update you back on it at the next council meeting. We have not yet finalized the plan, but it is in process.
Thank you for that.
Councillor Roger.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette, and through you to Mr. Fark. I just want to comment on the 2-year limitation for the insurance. I don't think the wording in your document is quite strong enough. When you say parties are encouraged to request a voluntary extension, certainly they can do that, but if they don't get a voluntary extension, of course, they're dead in the water. They have no further case. So just encouraging them, I'm not sure if that's the strong wording that we should use. And secondly, the similar type of discussion is that it says insured parties who wish to dispute their claim must initiate a statement of claim, even if their claim is not being disputed and it's an ongoing claim. When the 2 years comes up, the insurance company could walk away from it. So I think it's not only those that are in dispute, it's those that are on the way to final resolution. So I just think it should be made extremely clear to everybody that that 2-year date is a real drop dead date, and they have to be extremely careful and very, very clear that they don't have any ambiguity at all in that. And I think you understand that. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Roger. So we can strongly encourage, we cannot compel leaseholders to move forward with requesting the voluntary extension. But again, we have taken the steps, including contacting the Alberta Insurance Superintendent, to get the letter to to provide the notification also to the insurance companies so that they understand their responsibilities as well. So we are doing everything we can to get that information out there. But you're right, people who are households that are facing challenges and have not yet closed their claim by the 2-year limit should act to either secure a voluntary extension or file a statement of claim.
Thank you. I think that's very clear. People have to absolutely know that if you don't file the statement of claim, you better have this 100% under control.
Councillor Waxer.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette, and through you to Director Fark. You spoke of geotechnical concerns, and I was curious if they were as a result of the fire or as a result of more knowledge about the geotechnical challenges of those sites, or as a result of the debris removal.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Waxler. So it is a combination. So building code and standards have changed significantly since some of the subdivisions were initially executed. So there are updated standards and requirements that certainly come into play. There's also the potential that the fire has affected some of the features in the area that can contribute to a more complex geotechnical situation. In that case, the leaseholders are required to work with a geotechnical specialist and present a plan for mitigation of those potentially new ground conditions in order to be able to proceed with their building permit. And that's true regardless of whether it is because of updated building code considerations or whether it's because of changing ground conditions.
Thank you for that.
I see we don't have Councillor Melnick on the screen. Director Fark, I'm assuming, is he up there? I don't see him here. Anyway, I'm assuming, Director Fark, you'll be staying for the portion. Okay, so in case Councillor Melnick has questions for you. I just have one question, if I may. We've talked about the Wabasso campground for largely for our contractors to be set up. What is out at Wabasso campground in terms of facilities for these contractors, if indeed they have to set up there?
So that would be a wonderful segue to my colleague Amy Carnes at Parks Canada, who will be able to give a more fulsome update on those facilities. So I would defer that question to her and then allow her to answer that question as part of her presentation, if that's okay with you, Deputy Mayor Frechette.
Oh yes, absolutely. I assumed it probably would be, but you did mention it in your presentation, so I thought I would just I would ask the question. So we can get to that question as part of your entire presentation, maybe more smoother for everyone. So if there's no other questions,
Mayor Frechette.
Oh, okay. Is Councillor Melnick?
You may not see me on the screen, but I have had my hand up. So if I may have 2 questions before we move on to the Parks Canada portion of the presentation.
Okay, yep. Go ahead. Your voice is very faint, but you go ahead. I think we can hear you clearly. Thank you. Okay,
I'll try to speak louder again. I don't know why, but my first question is some clarification on the interim home hardware site for the benefit of the residents to understand what that is.
Thank you, Councillor Melnick, for the question. So the interim home hardware is located in the municipal bus barn, and that is now available for the public to access on a interim and temporary basis. And the permanent home hardware is in the process of going about getting their permits finalized and beginning the reconstruction of their permanent location. Oh, they have actually, in fact, started construction.
Thank you, Director Fark. And for clarity, it's not a physical store, it's an opportunity to speak with a home hardware representative.
If that is the case, Councillor Melnick, then you are better informed than I am. My understanding is that there is some ability to acquire a limited amount of inventory from that location. And then, yes, the ability to access the entire inventory or the catalog via a representative.
Thank you for that. And thank you for your presentation. Before we move on to Parks Canada, I would like to ask a question, if I may, for you, Deputy Mayor Frechette, regarding the apartment vacancy and rental cost survey that we're now included in, and what the significance of that is as it relates to Jasper in this rebuilding process.
Thank you, Councillor Melnick. So the survey is one that is conducted and led by the province of Alberta on an annual basis. And what they do is they do a survey of a number of communities to determine what are the current market rates and vacancy rates to better understand the state of the rental market. So for our purposes, it's important to be included in this because there have been significant changes to Jasper's rental market as a result of the fire. So understanding, getting a better understanding of what the current inventory available is and what the current market rates are, that can help us inform the interim housing program. And most importantly, as we look to draw down and the transition from interim housing back to permanent housing, that can help to inform the processes and supports that we will need to have in place to allow people to make that transition smoothly.
Thank you, Director Fark. I think that was a point that should be emphasized, that this is an integral part of our next 2 to 3 years of rebuilding, and the fact that we need to have additional rental housing in the community, and participating in this survey will help, I think, highlight our vacancy rate being near zero or at zero. And thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette.
Thank you, Councillor Melnick. Is there any more questions for Director Fark before we move on to the next segment of our presentation? Okay, having seen none, indeed, we'll move on to Parks Canada's presentation.
Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor and Council members. As Mike said, my name is Amy Cairns. I'm Director of Recovery for Parks Canada, and I'm here today to share an update on the park recovery and the work that's been going on with our team in this area. So a large part of the work that our team has been focused on for the past 18 months is work that allows areas to safely reopen while also laying the groundwork for long-term recovery. That means dealing with immediate risks on the landscape and planning carefully how damaged assets are replaced so that they're more resilient over time. At the same time, recovery is not just about infrastructure, it's also about allowing natural systems to heal and ensuring that our interventions don't create unnecessary impact. So as you all know, the wildfire affected over 32,000 hectares of land across Jasper National Park, and this created immediate safety risks across the landscape. These include danger trees, unstable slopes, contamination, and fire debris, all of which had to be assessed and addressed before areas could safely reopen to the public. Understanding the extent and location of these impacts was critical for planning a coordinated recovery effort that protects both visitor and resident safety and the ecological health of the park. Even as crews work to manage the large number of danger trees, the risk remains elevated, and ongoing monitoring and management will be an important part of recovery for the foreseeable future. The fire and extreme winds significantly increased the number of danger trees requiring management, and we know from our colleagues in Waterton after the Kenow fire that elevated danger tree management will be required over the next 10 years. In addition to the impacts on the landscape, the wildfire also had a major impact on parks infrastructure. As you can see on the slide here, in total, 131 assets were completely lost, while another 55 sustained major damage and 85 experienced minor damage. It's important to note that these numbers represent whole assets rather than its component parts. So for example, I'm squealing. The impacted campgrounds represent 4 of the number here, but that represents 516 campsites. So just to understand the numbers there a bit. The losses include staff housing, campgrounds, visitor facilities such as privies and the park entry building, and bridges, which are all critical for both park operation and the visitor experience. In addition, significant portions of trails and roads were damaged, which affect how people move through the park and how recovery crews can access sites. So these losses highlight the scale of the challenge we faced, and restoring these assets require prioritization to ensure safety, maintain access, and support long-term resilience of infrastructure in the park itself. Okay, so as part of the recovery work, a major focus has been on debris removal and addressing danger trees to ensure safety and enable further restoration. On the debris side, thousands of metric tons of materials have been managed. Mixed waste, concrete, metal, and contaminated soil have been safely removed or recycled. Confirmatory soil testing completed, and backfill has been imported and placed to restore affected areas. Alongside debris removal, danger trees, which were damaged by the fire or the high winds, have been identified and removed in prioritized areas. This work focused on trails, campgrounds, and other areas with public or staff access, and ongoing monitoring, as I mentioned before, will continue over the next decade. Okay, keep going. Immediately after the wildfire, our team jumped in to early recovery with one priority, which was making the park safe for residents and visitors. Before reopening anything, teams completed hazard assessments and management, checking slopes, trails, and all potential risks to ensure the areas were safe. By fall of 2024, high priority and lower impacted areas were back open, so people could return to Pyramid Bench, Old Fort Point, Lake Annette, and Lake Edith. And the focus was then on winter recreation next, so ensuring that cross-country ski trails could reopen on the Pyramid Fire Road, Pipeline, and the Whirlpool Winter Hub. Backcountry skiing was available at Friat Valley Trail and Signal Fire Road, and alternative canyoning locations were offered to support guided businesses. Recognizing the importance to tourism, the local economy, and community well-being, the Parks Canada team worked hard to ensure that the Marmot Basin Ski Resort could open for the winter, so ensuring that the road was operational and supporting ACO and restoring the power to the area. Facilities were cleaned and prepped, and visitor communication tools went live, including the What's Open in Jasper National Park site, helping visitors navigate what's available. After the initial recovery work, the focus turned to trails and day use areas across the park, and teams moved quickly to, again, remove those danger trees, repair bridges, and reroute sections of trails. Signage was also replaced, improving wayfinding and overall safety. So by July of 2025, this work had achieved some impressive milestones, which included over 112 kilometers of roads and nearly 70 kilometers of trails that had been cleared. In campgrounds, more than 1,200 sites were made safe, and infrastructure such as footbridges, 165 picnic tables, over 50 fire pits, and 175 campsite markers were also restored. And across the park, 80 signs and posts have been replaced, with ongoing work to continue improving safety and navigation. So thanks to these efforts, for last season, we were able to open 75% capacity at the front country campgrounds and all of our backcountry campgrounds. And then moving on to some geotechnical work. So while much of the park has reopened, there are still some locations that require more complex recovery work. In these areas, the most significant impacts of the wildfire aren't always visible at the surface. They're happening underground, where the soil structure, the root systems, and water movement have all been altered. Since September of 2025, specialized engineering teams have been carrying out site safety assessments in key locations. So this includes Edith Cavell Road, Moline Canyon, Mile 5 Hill, and Portal Creek. This work is essentially a detailed health check of the landscape to understand what has changed and what's needed to make these areas safe again. This has included ground stability testing, where crews drill boreholes, that's the top picture on this slide, and use tools like LiDAR to detect even small movements in the slope and assess how stable the ground is beneath the roads and the trails. It also includes water pattern analysis. With vegetation removed by the fire, water now moves across the land differently. And so teams are studying these drainage patterns to reduce the risk of future washouts and to make sure that ditches and culverts can handle increased flow. At the same time, safety and infrastructure audits are underway. These involve inspecting asphalt, culverts, guardrails, retaining structures, and bridges to identify where repairs are needed and where new protective measures may be required. Once the hazards are fully identified and mitigation plans are finalized, the project will move into the repair and rebuild phase, and we'll keep everyone updated as that progresses. This phased approach ensures that when areas do reopen, they will be safe and resilient for the long term. And some of the other work that's been underway has been rebuilding infrastructure that supports the visitor and the park operation. So a major focus was on wayfinding and basic services. So by spring of this year, 278 wayfinding signs will be replaced across the park, helping visitors navigate safely and understand what's open and accessible. And privies, of course, are another Parks Canada priority always. And so 8 privies are scheduled to be reopened by the spring, restoring those essential facilities at day use areas and pullouts. In addition, broader infrastructure repairs and rebuilding are taking place, including the replacement of the park entry gate and staff housing that was damaged or lost in the fire. These facilities are critical not only for the visitor experience, but also for supporting the staff who deliver park services and manage recovery work. And this work sets the stage for what comes next. As infrastructure is restored, it enables more areas to reopen. So one of the places that I did want to highlight was Valley of the Five Lakes. Restoration work is nearly complete at this site, which is very exciting, and will be opening up late spring of 2026. For this work, we've realigned parts of the trail to showcase what makes the Valley of the Five Trail so special. So there are new ridgeline views and better access to lake lookouts. There's new signage that will be installed throughout the trail to help users navigate several of the newly constructed areas. And there's a new, wider pedestrian bridge. I think it's 6 feet across now, that spans the wetland. And hand-placed rock stairs improve safety and durability. So materials for this project were sourced locally and placed with care to ensure natural aesthetics blend with the landscape and provide hikers with an enjoyable experience. The picnic tables for Valley of the Five are all being built using trees that were salvaged from fire-affected areas. And I would be remiss not to have a shout out for the Friends of Jasper volunteers. They were a big help in getting this project over the line and spent many hours out on the trail helping prepare the surfaces and get it ready for reopening. So thank you to them. Campgrounds. Campgrounds are a central part of Jasper's recovery, and reopening them safely is essential to welcoming visitors back and supporting the local tourism economy. Parks Canada has worked hard to clear hazard trees, reconnect utilities, and rebuild campground infrastructure to maximize availability as soon as we can. As I mentioned before, in 2025, approximately 75% of front country campsites and all of the backcountry campsites were able to open, which, that represents over 1,500 campsites are open. There are still 516 that remain closed, or over 600 if you're counting the group's campsites. So those are those numbers. Wapiti Campground opened at about 30% capacity as critical sanitary and electrical infrastructure were lost on 70% of the sites. So that will require a major repair. Whistler's Campground was largely spared, but significant cleanup was required due to burned areas and wind-damaged trees. So looking ahead to 2026, all the previously reopened campsites will be fully available. Additional capacity will be provided where needed through extended overflow camping and longer operating dates. Wabasso, Whirlpool Group, Marmot Meadows Group, and part of Wapiti Campground will remain closed while Parks Canada plans major rebuilds for these heavily fire-affected campgrounds. And so for Wabasso in particular, we are opening that up to contractors to stay there. There is water there, but it's not potable. And I think there's electricity with parts of the site. So that's what's available there right now. And there is a sandy dump as well. So the rebuild effort is significant. Much of the infrastructure that was lost at these sites was at or near the end of its lifespan. So some assets were over 50 years old. And so while we work to repair and replace, we are also working to modernize the camping experience at these sites. So overall, these efforts are about more than just reopening the campsites. They're about rebuilding a safe, resilient, visitor-ready Jasper for the seasons to come. And so in terms of environmental protection and natural regeneration, these are core parts of Jasper's recovery. Efforts this past year focused on restoring disturbed sites, controlling invasive plants, and engaging visitors and the local community in stewardship. After the 2024 fire, many areas are recovering naturally, but high priority sites like highly visited areas and unstable slopes received targeted restoration. Across 26 sites in the park, teams replanted, seeded, and installed erosion mats and cedar fencing. In total, 18,000 native trees, including Douglas fir, wolf willow, Bebb's willow, and red osier dogwood, and 1,400 native grasses were planted. Seed collection was also a priority, with 3,200 Douglas fir cones gathered, which is enough for roughly 10 years of planting in the future. And seeds from 7 other native species were stored for future use. And at the caribou breeding facility, 13,000 plants and plugs were planted to restore pens affected by the wildfire. An integrated approach was used to prevent and control invasive species. Teams inventoried 49 hectares, manually removed nearly 4,900 kilograms of invasive plants, and applied additional techniques such as biocontrol, herbicide, matting, and incinerating seed heads as well. And competitive planting and seeding helped restore native plant communities. Community engagement complemented this work, so we had presentations at Whistler's Campground. We installed boot brush stations at trailheads and had hands-on restoration activities with students and residents to help promote stewardship and support recovery. And Douglas fir saplings were planted in wildfire-affected areas, including Lake Annette, as part of the Healing Through Fire program, which is a great initiative. So looking ahead to 2026 and beyond, our focus remains on completing safe reopening and supporting a resilient recovery. Planned trail reopenings include the Valley of the Five Lakes Trail, Wabasso Lake Trail, Trail 9, and the Curator Trail as well. Some areas, including Trail 9C, Cavell Road, and Moline Canyon, will remain closed until hazard removal, slope instability is addressed, and potential realignments are completed. Campgrounds, as I mentioned, will maintain 75% of front country and 100% of backcountry capacity. Long-term wildlife and ecological monitoring continues for species such as elk, deer, grizzly bears, bats, black swifts, and whitebark pine, ensuring that recovery supports ecosystem health. And community and Indigenous engagement continues to inform recovery planning, including cultural monitoring and setting rebuild priorities, helping ensure that all aspects of recovery are coordinated, safe, and sustainable. Planning and design work is ongoing for infrastructure losses. Visitors can continue to find the most up-to-date information about reopening on the park's What's Open resources and through our website as well. And overall recovery work is progressing with ongoing monitoring, infrastructure rebuilds, and engagement guiding the next phase of reopening and restoration. And that's it for my section. And if you would like to ask questions, we can stop here before Dave takes over for the wildfire risk reduction piece.
Thank you for that very comprehensive report. It certainly shines a light on a lot of the questions that I had. So for councillors, if indeed we have questions at this juncture, we could go ahead with that. And before we move on to Mr. Argument's presentation, any questions from council? Councillor Waxer.
Again, not really a question, but thank you for the excellent report. And I noted as it went by that 500,000 danger trees have been removed. I thought that was a really impressive statistic, so thank you.
Councillor Malik, I can't see you. I don't know if your hand is up or not. If you could indicate to us verbally.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette. My hand isn't up at this point, but I do have my video on, so it could be because there's a full presentation on the screen why you can't see me.
Yes, I'm assuming that's the issue. Okay, fair enough. Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Frechette, and thank you, Ms. Cairns, for the great presentation. I have a question about front country campsites. We're still missing 516. We have 1573 open. Out of the 1573, do you know how many are designated for displaced residents?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks, Councillor Hall. Right now, we've set aside, I think it's 50 sites in Whistler's campground that are available for residents for long-term camping or businesses for their seasonal staff. And then we also have additional sites available at the Sleepy Hollow campsite as well, if we need extra for residents and contractors.
And last season, I mean, I did see some trailers in that Sleepy Hollow spot. Was it well received, or was it? I mean, I don't think there's services there, so you'd be kind of on your own. But was it subscribed to?
Yeah, there were certainly a few folks out there, but again, because of it's not serviced in any way, most people prefer to stay at Whistler's. Yeah.
And my last question, if I may, is around the Valley of the Five Lakes. And as a mountain biker and in the mountain bike community, I'm hearing, will it be open to mountain biking, or is it, because you said for hikers, just wanted to clarify if there'll be some space in there for mountain biking.
Yeah, so the biking options will remain the same that they were pre-fire. Yeah, so the biking option is the same as it was. Mm-hmm.
Councillor Malik, do you have any? Is your hand up yet? I think that is a no. Councillor Conjure, did you have your hand up?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette. Through to Amy. I was wondering, I don't know, you probably won't know off the top of your head, but I'm really interested to know what the geotechnical studies are showing at Mile 5 Hill.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Kongsgard. So we just received back the initial report from the geotechnical. So the team is looking through that and looking through the different options to mitigate the risks that are present there. So I don't have a lot of the details yet as we work through it, but we have received some initial feedback and are working through our plans.
Thank you.
If I may, I have a couple of questions. One is to do with the Cavell Road. I appreciate that it is undergoing testing and danger tree management, etc. My first question would be, is there any time frame on that reopening? And another question that's been posed to me time to time is, we've lost a significant number of old growth Douglas fir trees that are lying around. Is there any salvaging going on with those trees, or are they just left to go back to the natural cycle of deterioration?
Thank you for the question, Deputy Mayor. So for the first part of your question about Edith Cavell Road, we don't have a timeline yet. Again, similar to Mile 5, we're working through the options that are in the geotechnical report for different ways that we could move forward with rebuilding that first 3 kilometers that was heavily damaged by the fire. But we'll certainly provide updates as we know more about timelines and the phasing of that project. But I don't have a timeline yet. And then the second part of your question, sorry, was Douglas fir trees. Yes. So we are, both things are happening. So some are just being left to be part of the natural nutrient regeneration after the fire. But then some are being used to build picnic tables and wood for bridges and things like that throughout the trail system as well.
Okay, thank you. That'll make a lot of my carpenter buddies feel better about it. They see a big old tree laying there and they brings water to their eyes. Okay, is there any other questions? Councillor Roger.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette. I just have a question about the Marmot Road. There's a couple of spots that I find a little dangerous now because the trees are not as close to the road. Is there a discussion with parks about putting some sort of barrier there?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, so that's part of the Mile 5 analysis that's being done, that whole road there. And so, again, looking at the different options, some of which may involve different ditching or retaining structures and things like that, but we're still finalizing what the plans will be.
Any other questions going forward? Councillor Melnick?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll move along to Mr. Argument's presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor and Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to provide this update. Today's presentation will provide an overview of Parks Canada's wildfire risk reduction work underway in Jasper National Park and within the community, and how that work contributes to building a more wildfire resilient Jasper. This is primarily an information update. I'd like to summarize some of the work that's been completed, what's currently underway, and how this aligns with broader wildfire resilience principles. We know that Jasper exists in a fire-adapted ecosystem. Wildfire in this environment is a natural process, but we also know that the question is not whether fire will occur, but how well prepared we are for when it does. So the work I'll outline focuses on reducing wildfire risk where we can, improving conditions for response, and strengthening resilience over time. Oh, sorry, back one. I didn't see which slide we were on. Apologies. So this afternoon, I'd like to cover three areas then. An update on the 2026 vegetation management project currently underway. Second, how this work fits in the broader Fire Smart framework and additional measures that Parks Canada is advancing. And then some considerations that support continued resilience planning over time. So this map shows our vegetation management work completed around the town site to date, including the blocks that are currently being treated this winter. You can see the pink cross-hatched areas on the map are the areas where work is underway this winter. We're treating approximately 100 hectares during this winter season, both from a large-scale vegetation removal, logging perspective, and thinning and maintenance work of previously treated areas. The work that we're doing is guided by Jasper's wildfire risk reduction strategy, which I presented to Council approximately 1 year ago today. So target areas are prioritized using wildfire ignition probability modeling, fuel conditions, access considerations, and proximity to values at risk. Current treatments focus on strengthening the wildland fire urban interface, maintenance of previously treated areas, and maintaining continuity between those treated areas. So we're linking areas of intensive vegetation management with landscape features such as wetlands to build a roughly 2.5 kilometer wide fuel reduction zone surrounding the community. The objective is to reduce potential fire intensity, disrupt crown fire potential, and improve suppression conditions close to the community. Recent research, such as the 2025 FP Innovations analysis into the Jasper wildfire of 2024, confirms that treated areas measurably influenced fire behavior. While no treatment can entirely eliminate the risk, this work does change how wildfire behaves as it approaches town. The work on this map indicates sustained investment over the last several years, with some treatment areas actually going back more than 20 years, which also speaks to the fact that this is a long game and we need to continue this effort into the future. This image illustrates the scale of the active work up on the pyramid bench now. You can see in this particular block, we're removing all pine, most spruce, while retaining aspen and Douglas fir. The prescriptions reflect fuel conditions, pine beetle impacts on the forest, wildfire behavior modeling, while at the same time working hard to protect soil conditions, our important trail networks, archaeological sites, riparian buffers, and other considerations. Removing these fuels reduces the likelihood of a sustained crown fire and lowers potential fire intensity near the community. This work also facilitates safe egress of residents and visitors and safe access for emergency workers during incidents. While visually quite significant in the short term, the objective is long-term fire risk reduction and regeneration towards building a more resilient forest structure in the future. We talk a lot about vegetation management as an important part of wildfire risk reduction. It is certainly the most visible component of wildfire mitigation, but it is actually only one part of the broader Fire Smart framework. Wildfire resilience spans 7 interconnected disciplines, including infrastructure resilience, emergency planning, development standards, legislation and policy, education, cooperation, and cross-training. And I'd like to touch on a few of these associated disciplines today. So while large-scale vegetation treatment influences fire behavior at a landscape level, we know that once embers enter a neighborhood or a community, other factors such as structural characteristics and emergency preparedness also play a very significant role in outcomes. For that reason, Parks Canada's approach is layered. Vegetation management remains foundational, but additional measures are necessary to strengthen overall resilience. 2 recent analyses of the 2024 Jasper wildfire provide very important context. The 2025 FP Innovations Community Impact Study and Natural Resource Canada's Wildfire Assessment. These reports confirm that those fuel treatments around Jasper meaningfully reduced fire intensity and crown fire activity in the treated areas and enabled fire personnel to protect 70% of the community, including all critical infrastructure. This demonstrates that our vegetation work currently underway is effective and is directionally sound. But at the same time, under extreme weather conditions, wildfire still reached developed areas. Ember exposure was then a primary driver of structural ignitions, and building proximity and combustible features around infrastructure influenced spread. So the takeaway is that vegetation management works, but not in isolation. Wildfire outcomes are also shaped by infrastructure, planning, and preparedness. That understanding has informed how Parks Canada is evolving the broader wildfire resilience efforts currently underway. So I'd like to touch on some of the considerations around infrastructure and development, which are an important layer here. In addition to vegetation management, we're taking action to reduce structural vulnerability on federal assets. This includes installing sprinkler protection systems on selected buildings, such as those with cedar shake roofs, including the Jasper Information Center. We're also pursuing longer-term solutions to those vulnerabilities, guided by a comprehensive fire risk assessment on all Parks Canada-owned buildings within the Jasper town site. It's expected that in the long term, this will include roof replacements where feasible for structures such as the superintendent's residence and that information center. We've also collaborated with municipal partners to update development guidelines for new construction to incorporate wildfire resilient principles, and are working to apply these principles to outline commercial accommodations as well. At the same time, we know that existing structures represent a significant portion of overall exposure. Structural resilience evolves over time through upgrades, retrofits, and alignment of new standards. That's why it's critical that we demonstrate leadership by addressing our own structures first. I note that it's also great to see that numerous other structures around town are also proceeding with fire-resilient roof replacements as well. This is an area where continued attention is going to meaningfully influence future outcomes. Emergency planning is another very important part of component of resilience. Our work in 2024 to evacuate the town was guided by the 2022 evacuation plan, which provided a strong foundation, But as with any emergency planning document, periodic review ensures that it reflects current conditions, infrastructure changes, and lessons learned. So clear governance roles, communication pathways, along with collaborative emergency management exercises, practice, strengthen readiness before an event occurs. Parks Canada remains committed to ongoing coordination to support clarity and preparedness across various organizations involved. Wildfire resilience is also strengthened through coordination. At a strategic level, Parks Canada is embarking on a multidisciplinary review process to integrate internal and external research, operations, and planning expertise to guide future priorities across the FireSmart framework to make sure their investment is placed where it makes the most impact. Locally, collaboration between Parks Canada and the municipality of Jasper remains central. We're looking forward to the development of a town site wildfire resilience plan, which will help ensure that our various efforts are maximized rather than duplicative within our respective mandates. Coordination with provincial wildfire agencies, Natural Resources Canada, and academic partners supports risk assessment, prescribed fire planning where appropriate, and long-term monitoring. Resilience outcomes are strongest where our efforts are aligned and sustained. To conclude, I'd like to frame this around 3 forward-looking priorities. First, we will continue maintaining and strengthening the vegetation treatments at the community interface. The research confirms that this work is effective, and maintaining those investments over time is essential. Second, we'll continue advancing the additional FireSmart disciplines within our mandate, particularly around infrastructure hardening, structural vulnerability reduction, emergency planning, refinement, and the scientific review to guide work on future priorities. Third, we will continue to strengthen coordination both locally and externally so that our wildfire risk reduction efforts are aligned, evidence-based, and can be sustained. We know that fire weather conditions are changing. Longer seasons and more extreme fire behavior reinforce the need for layered and ongoing mitigation. Parks Canada remains committed to advancing wildfire resilience within our authorities and to working collaboratively with the municipality of Jasper and other partners to ensure that those collective efforts are aligned. As rebuilding and reinvestment continue, there's an opportunity here for all of us to ensure that those investments are protected through proactive mitigation. This summer, you'll see a visible demonstration of our commitment to FireSmart principles through the installation of a sprinkler system on the Jasper Information Centre, while longer-term solutions to this vulnerability are pursued. While it won't look exactly like this AI-generated image, it does present a practical step in reducing structural vulnerabilities. So for Parks Canada, this is about leading by example, identifying our own areas of exposure, and taking action within our responsibility. Thank you. And I welcome any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Argument. That's also a very, very comprehensive review of all of the work that Parks Canada is undertaking. And I know I speak for Mayor Ireland and all of Council that a robust collaboration with you and the municipality is fundamental. And I think that going forward, that bond is only going to get stronger, and I think it's in all of our interest to build for a community that's safe from extensive fire hazards that we know are still around us. And your efforts have been extraordinary up on the bench. I know it's a whole new landscape up there. Anyway, I'd like to thank you very much. Council, do we have any questions for Mr. Argument? Yeah. Councillor Roger.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette, and through you to Mr. Argument. It seems to me one thing that would be useful, I'm hoping maybe it's within Parks' ideas, is some sort of financial incentive to get people to replace their cedar roofs with something that's non-flammable. Has there been any discussion anywhere in Parks about some sort of program like that?
So I'm happy to answer that question, Councillor Roger. So Obviously, there has been conversations, including with our parks colleagues. The municipality is exploring other funding opportunities to support with that type of work, looking at different granting options. We are working on a few initiatives at this moment in time, and we look forward to being able to bring further information back to council in a relatively future date.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Malik, I still can't see you, but do you have any questions for Mr. Argument?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette. I do not, but I'll take the opportunity to thank both Ms. Cairns and Mr. Argument for this very detailed presentation. And I think it's excellent that it's brought to the community early in the year to see what has been accomplished, and also to appreciate the amount of work that's been done throughout the entire park so that we can welcome visitors this 2026 visitor season. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Councillor Melnick. I have a couple of questions. I'm wondering about the winter logging. Is it strictly a winter operation, or does it continue through the summer months?
Thank you for the question, Deputy Mayor. It is a year-round operation from the sense that extensive efforts are required to plan and prepare, go through the contracting processes, all those sorts of activities that are part of the work. In terms of the actual physical work on the landscape, that's primarily a winter operation for a variety of reasons, including the fact that it's important to conduct that kind of work during frozen ground conditions to reduce long-term impacts to soil conditions, the opportunity for invasive plants to be introduced, those sorts of things, but also from the perspective that part of the work involves disposing of and removing all the fine materials that are left behind after a clearing operation like this, which requires, to do it most economically, requires burning. For which we require snow cover and, again, winter conditions to ensure that we're not elevating the wildfire risk.
And also, I noticed with the pictures, there's a fairly robust logging operation, it looks like. Is that part and parcel of cost recovery for this exercise?
Yes, the logs that are salvageable are taken to mill in Whitecourt to offset the cost of conducting the work. In our local environment, we are so far from mills and the wood is of relatively low value, so the cost recovery is not a significant part of the work, but we do try to offset the cost by taking what is available to mill.
Okay, and I'll just one final question. The beloved Palisades Training Center, is there a plan afoot within Parks Canada to rebuild that?
Thank you for the question. I can jump in and answer that, Deputy Mayor. So for the Palisades Center, we are in the early planning phases of what our options are for that site, and we're working closely with Indigenous partners because there's a deep connection to that area as well. So that engagement is ongoing while we figure out options to move it forward.
I'm glad to hear that. It was a lovely facility, and I certainly had a number of celebrations, milestones in my life out there. It would really be fantastic if we could. You're not going to put back what's there, but maybe something even better. I thank you all very much for your presentations. I don't know if there's any more questions for our presenters from council. If not, I wonder if we shouldn't take a. Okay, yes, sorry. Okay, Councillor Hall, like to make a presentation regarding the information.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette. I would make the motion that council receive the report for information. And thank you very much, and your partnership means a lot to the municipality.
Thank you. I'll call the question. All in favor?
If you can't see me, I'm in favor.
Yeah, there you are, Ralph. We got you now. Thanks for that. So maybe this would be a good time to take maybe a 10-minute break, and we can continue after. Thank you. Okay, we will proceed to item 6.2, Director's Report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette and Council. I'm really honored and proud to present the Community Development Director's Report for March 2026. I will mention across the department that we are still seeing some staff turnover and staff vacancies, and it's a very similar report to 3 months ago. Other opportunities, cost of living, housing insecurity, and personal impacts from the wildfire are given with the staff on exit interviews. But to switch gears to some very, mostly positive news in here. So we have hired for the childcare services manager position. Kristen Murphy has joined and bringing that team to full strength. The space creation grant is approved and will bring about 22 new spaces in about 18 months. The wait list and spaces available is still a challenge for the community. Modifications and clarity in the wait list program are underway. And we continue to work the Jasper Community Childcare Strategy to find as many ways as possible to increase capacity. Moving just slightly up, maybe we'll say east, the Activity Center, Parks and Arena curling area, the Pet Park Solution. And we're calling it Pet Park because there is no, it's not just a single off-leash park that we're looking at. We're trying to find ways to meet the residents where they are. And so we're in development. We're expecting a pilot project to roll out before spring. The Jasper Tennis Association, as you will recall, was successful in getting their $125,000 CFEP grant from the province. And so working with them in operations for us to get that project to rehabilitate the existing tennis courts and install new pickleball courts in the old skate park area. And we're hoping for that construction in the spring of 2026. The ice will go out April 8th. As we do not have any tournaments booked in April. We have been contacting all former renters and booking opportunities. And of course, if some bookings do materialize, it's not a set in stone closure. If we have some bookings, we can certainly adjust our time. But right now, we're set to go out on April 8th. Many new programs in the facility thanks to both internal community programming and external partners like the Movement Collective and Minor Sports. That new outside air quality meter that Westcast mentioned in their presentation, it is in the lobby just to the right of the desk as you look at it. And it's quite an interesting thing that you just see a little cloud with a colored light behind it, and it tells you the air quality in the community. There were some people who thought it was the air quality in the building, which would be great. We should look into getting one of those. But our air quality in the building, of course, is determined by the air quality outside by and large. So seeing that there is a great addition to the facility. The Fitness and Aquatic Center. The facility is, again, busy with child, youth, and adult programming. There's lots of swimming classes. There's a master's life-saving club now, aquafit, spin cycle, climbing, volleyball, and partnering with outreach for many chaos and rec room events. Fitness Center is piloting an early bird 6 a.m. opening on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And with enough demand, we'll keep that time open. And of course, with a lot of demand, we'd look at expanding it. So far, it has been good. I'll mention that at the end. Over to the 627 downtown location, Outreach Settlement and Mini CD. It was another amazing quarter of support and programs in collaboration with our many funders. And especially like to mention the Jasper Community Team Society. So we have facilitated nearly $1 million in direct support given to residents over the last year. We have Black History Month programming out now, very exciting new development for the community. And so you can see that on the website. And our trends, we of course have continued reports of stress around immigration, interim and regular housing, food insecurity, employment and hours of work, smoky conditions, and navigating the rebuild process. Community dinners off to another fantastic start. We're actually halfway through, and we're getting an average of 500 to 600 people each Sunday. So far, we've served over 3,300 plates. Community conversations well attended to start the year as well. And now I'll get into, the most fun. We talk about the only reason that any of us consider ourselves to have jobs is to serve that community. And so stories of gratitude from the front line, I'm really proud of. And Glenda's Soup Kitchen, Glenda is obviously not, and her team are not municipal employees, but they are a partner in service delivery, and they've really picked up the gauntlet of community service. It's really beautiful partnership. And so we see residents in for a meal and conversations weekdays. And the fun fact there, the soup kitchen serves on average 40 liters of soup a day. So that's about 120 bowls of soup. So I know that there are some staff who grab a bowl every so often. I know that there are members of the public that come a couple of times a day. And there are visitors also who are quite surprised and thrilled to get a homemade bowl of soup like that. So it's a really beautiful little thing that's happened since the Chetamon fire that has maintained. And I will say a doff of the cap to the 15 hardy souls that were waiting at 0600 for that first day of Early Bird Fitness Center opening. And so far, we haven't really seen that abating. They are a good crew. They are coming at 0600. And so we are hopeful to see that perhaps a few more passes get purchased because of that time. With the number of contractors in the region, in the town, actually, maybe the 6 a.m. works better for them as well. And so we're hoping it translates into some more memberships for sure. And then, I've got probably over a dozen just in the last month, little bits, notes from the community in small and large areas. We had 160 people come to the Valentine's Family Dance, for those of you that may have attended. And, one of the comments comes to mind was simply that I cannot believe how many events we have for families in this community. That was a comment from the community. And so we get that all the day, all the time, almost on a daily basis. And I just want to make a note that the frontline staff, the ones that are the interface to the community, they continue as ever to make a difference in community, especially around creating that sense of belonging and safety every day. And I tip my cap to every one of those frontline staff. You all saw on Friday how many staff we have and how hard they work, and well done to one and all. And of course, I'm available for any questions that council might have.
Thank you, Director Reed. I would just say I agree with every bullet point that you have here. We are very fortunate to have all of the wonderful members of our community. I mean, I had a great fortune to attend the Pathfinders celebration, which was extraordinary, and also the employee acknowledgement and the award ceremonies. That was quite something. There was a full house, and the acknowledgements that were received were awarded to 6 participants were really interesting to see, and of course, just the participation in the voting for them, which was just fabulous, and of course, Glenda and all of the things that she does. She's a working machine. I can't believe it. I'd be interested to know how many meals she's actually prepared in her life. Anyway, I will direct to councillors if you have any questions for Dr. Reed.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette, and through you to Christopher. A couple of months ago, I made the suggestion that perhaps before the pickleball court was built, that somebody go and whack a few balls and hear if it sounds over at Southview. And I was wondering if that had happened yet, or is it going to happen before you start construction? Because I know there's real problems out there in the world with noise and very irate citizens if it's a real problem. So we'd like to avoid that if we could.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette, through to Councillor Roger. That is still in our to-do list. We didn't really see a purpose in doing it in the winter, but it is on our plan to ensure that we cover all the bases for that. I will note there were similar complaints when we talked about putting a skate park in. And once the skate park was there, the noise levels, due to that location, it really does filter well. So I'm optimistic that we're going to be able to either find a solution or there won't be a problem whatsoever. But thank you for that point.
Councillor Waxer.
Yes, I had a question with all of the, through you, Deputy Mayor Frechette to Director Reed. There's lots of discussion in the news these days around immigration and at the federal level as well as at the provincial level. And I wondered, we have a fairly robust system of services for new Canadians and other immigrants, and I wondered if you knew if you had any concerns about the level of service that we will continue to be able to offer.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette, through to Councillor Waxer. That is true. At both levels of government, immigration is under the microscope, if you will, and our contract to provide newcomer services does have some impacts that we are working through now to see how we will have to change our service levels to adapt to the changing reality of numbers and whether or not the money that we receive funding will cover the work that we have been doing or how we'll have to modify that work. But it is one of the things we're working on to ensure that we do provide a seamless level of service to the many newcomers in our community. And we did just actually have a celebration of many newcomers who received their permanent residency. So we have a lot to celebrate from the newcomers in our community. Thank you for that question.
Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Frechette. If I can just get some clarification on Councillor Waxer, are we talking about the grant for the local immigration, or is it just immigration on a whole that might be looking at getting some cuts federally and provincially?
Deputy Mayor Frechette, through to Councillor Hall, it is in fact the generically or overall, we can say the whole program is facing reduced funding. How we modify or adapt to that reduced funding, what we're doing is trying to find the way that keeps the local immigration partnership is an excellent example of something that's working very well in our community. Newcomer Network is working very well in our community. The settlement outreach workers are working very well in our community. And the outreach to Hinton is one of the things that we'll be looking at. But right now, I don't have the clarity on exactly how we're going to change. But again, we're aiming to continue to serve our newcomers as best as we can and as we have done in the past.
A follow-up question to that. Are all of our settlement support workers funded by external grants, or is any of it supported by by taxes?
Deputy Mayor Frechette, through to Councillor Hall. In fact, all of the staffing for those positions is funded externally through the Immigration and Refugee Citizenship Canada grant.
If I may, leads me to my next question, or I have a couple questions, but one in particular. I'm just hearing concern in the region after the provincial budget was dropped around social support services for families being offered by the province being downsized and up for bid. And I'm just wondering if you can speak to how that might affect Jasper services or what you're doing to mitigate that. Deputy Mayor Frechette, through to Councillor Hall. This is really wonderful that the council is so abreast of the current events. And yes, indeed, that program, one, for example, right now is the Family Resource Network. And that is a program contract we've had with the province for 6 years, and it is under renewal right now. And there has been a reduction in the amount of funds available for that program. And I will say with happiness and pride that the region, so that includes Edson, Hinton, and Grand Cache to a certain extent, but the service providers in our region have really done well to find ways to what we would call sharpen the pencils and see how we can make these reductions impact the community the least. But it's not going to be without challenge. There will be service changes that will occur. Some will be reductions, some will be modifications because of that reduction in funding available from the province, for sure. If I may, so this, it was called the Family Resource Network, and it's a once every 6 year grant. Is that what I'm understanding?
Deputy Mayor Frechette, through to Councillor Hall, Family Resource Network is one of the programs. It is currently under renewal. It's a 3-year term typically, so we were successful originally. This is the program that replaced, many of you will remember the phrase Parent Link. This is the program that largely replaced that. So we've had this program, we've renewed once, and now we're into the second renewal. We're optimistic. The region has worked hard. We've all figured out ways to be, I guess, in essence, more efficient and deliver the services differently. And so we believe that we will still have Family Resource Network in our community. It will just be different, and in some cases less, but it'll be different.
Councillor Waxer.
I'm drawing on my previous experience, but one question I have is, with this new application for Family Resource Network, will it be a competition? Is it possible that other providers may apply to provide service in Jasper, or may compete with the municipality of Jasper or the Hinton Friendship Center, or those, or is it only open to current providers?
Deputy Mayor Frechette, through to Councillor Waxer. Yes, your experience is showing through. This call right now is for current providers only. So we expect to do a good job with our application. And if the province agrees that we did a good job with the application, it wouldn't go open. What we've been told is it wouldn't go to open call. We will be renewed, not recompeting.
Any other councillors in the room that have a question for Director Reid? Or I recognize Councillor Melnick.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette, and through you, I saw the space creation grant as positive. I'd like to know a little bit more about the grant. I've not heard of this grant before, and I take it it's a capital grant for construction to create these additional 22 spaces, potentially, and it's not a grant towards operating costs.
Deputy Mayor Frechette, through to Councillor Melnick, that is correct. This space creation grant is provincial funding to offset the capital costs of creating more spaces for kiddos to join us at the childcare center. It will not provide any operational funding. Operational funding, the subsidy is provided through a different mechanism. This is just a capital grant.
And through you, Deputy Mayor Frechette, to Director Reid, the grant is a certain amount of money, not disclosed yet to us, but will the grant cover all of the costs, or is there a portion that will be funded by the municipality?
Deputy Mayor Frechette, maybe I can speak to this one on behalf of administration. In the approved 2026 capital budget, there is a project related to childcare space, wildflowers expansion, and community space. So council, remember that project was about $1.2 million, and the funding sources were external grants and external contributions. So administration expects that the vast majority of that project will come from this grant, as well as a external donor that administration has been working with. There may be a smaller amount related to some municipal use of that space that we'd fund from existing budget resources. So the amount of the grant, I think the government is maybe looking for. We have signed a grant agreement. I think the government may wish to make that announcement, but it is a 6-figure amount that will take care of a significant proportion of that $1.2 million cost. Administration's been working with an external funder for the balance, and the smaller enhancement that the municipality may choose to make would be covered through existing budget resources.
Deputy Mayor Frechette, through you to both Mr. Given and to Director Reed, thank you for that clarification, and it's very positive. Let's make sure we keep that in the viewpoint here. This is a very positive development for our community. I do have one other question, and it relates to the pickleball and tennis court rehabilitation. We have a indication that work will start in 2026. I know this is pretty premature. We haven't awarded any contracts, but I imagine that the pickleball and that rehabilitation will probably take 3 to 6 months. We don't know when it would start, but pickleball might be late summer. Would that be an approximate timeline for that facility or that availability being open?
Deputy Mayor Frechette, through to Councillor Melnick. Great question. The intention is that we will be successful in getting a spring start, which will allow the longest possible season in 2026. It also is the sort of best for conditioning the new surfaces. And it is dependent on the tender call. So we do not have a guarantee of what kind of a season we will have this year. But your assumptions are pretty accurate that there will be an impact to the season. We will do our best to minimize and get people on those surfaces as soon as possible.
Councillor Conchard.
Through you, Deputy Mayor Frechette, to Director Reed, can you just let us know where the pet park is?
Deputy Mayor Frechette, through to Councillor Kongsgard. So the existing off-leash park is on the Trans Mountain right-of-way, just east of the RV parking home hardware area. That site is not ideal. We've had pet owners repeatedly complain about the site. It's previously disturbed, so sometimes there's garbage that grows out of the ground. Sometimes it's broken glass. The site is tough to access, especially in the winter. The slope of that ditch means, you have to be careful. And that site was really meant to be temporary. It is not ideal. And, we have secured some funding from Trans Mountain, and we're looking at some other funders to get a more appropriate, permanent, larger off-leash park. But also, especially given what we are in outreach calling coping through canines, there are a lot of smaller dogs that have joined our community. And those smaller dogs especially don't need a giant park. And so the way the industry has gone, the pet park industry, is that there are opportunities for smaller parks for smaller dogs. And so that's what we're looking at. Are there locations that will allow us to give small opportunities and also rehabilitate and create a better, larger, permanent park, if you will? So a couple of the spaces in community are right in the town. And so we're looking at how to get those development permits done appropriately and how we make the access safe and, garbage is on site and things like that. And the pilot project idea is that we will test out perhaps more than one site, but we will engage the community to get their feedback on where we should be and what efforts we should put into certain spots. And of course, what challenges there might be with certain spots. Does that answer your question, Councillor?
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
Councillor Waxer.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette. I also just wanted to make a brief comment congratulating those who are managing the community dinner program. I think that Jasper really should be very proud that we as a community were kind of launched this kind of program. And sitting on the Family and Community Support Services Association of Alberta's board. I'm hearing that so many other communities are launching similar programs, but I don't think any of them are even close to the 500 to 600 people attending weekly, and the polished way that program rolls out every single Sunday evening. So I wanted to offer congratulations and appreciation for this really important opportunity for people to get together and break bread with their neighbors and build community connections.
Through you, Deputy Mayor Frechette, to Councillor Waxer, I will pass those comments on to Chef Daryl and the rest of the team. And of course, we have a whole cadre of volunteers every year, or every week rather, and I'll make sure they all have heard this message. Thank you very much.
Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Frechette. One thing I hear a lot of in the community, during the fire, we lost our secondhand thrift store and our Reuse It Center, which is a service I think is quite essential, especially as we rebuild and people need things and don't have access to get to Hinton to go to a Walmart or their secondhand stores. I'm just wondering if this has come up in your department. Is there a space that admin thinks might work? Maybe potentially the pop-up village, something that could be externally funded.
Deputy Mayor Frechette, through to Councillor Hall, great question, and I think it has maybe three parts. The first part is, yes, this is definitely something that has come up repeatedly, comes up at community conversations, it comes up in outreach, it comes up in recovery. And I'm very thankful to say that recovery has been working towards finding us some kind of solution. In the interim, our recovery programmer has created a couple of thrift events that we've had at the multipurpose hall. There's also been a couple of, I was about to say weird things, but actually really beautiful things. So at Halloween, there was a costume exchange where you could bring your costume to the activity center, hang it on there, pick out the next size for your kiddo or the next choice in your repertoire of what you wanted to be for Halloween. And we also did the same thing for Christmas decorations. And so the first part is, yes, it's a challenge. Secondly, we are programming as best we can to find and make solutions. And thirdly, with the support of the JRCC, we are looking for, and I think the vision right now is something similar to the food bank trailer. We are looking to, modify the way that the parking lot is laid out again, so that we could maybe put a parking, or if we were successful in finding a temporary home for a thrift shop, we would put it in that parking lot and or in the pop-up village, somewhere where people could access it on a more regular basis than in a way sort of seasonally the way we've been having these events. So yes, it's on the radar. Yes, we are working towards a better solution. And yes, we address it as best we can with the resources that we have today.
Thank you for that, Director Reid. And, I think it's evident when you see piles of clothes by dumpsters or small household items by dumpsters that there just is nowhere to take these items. I also know that Full Circle in Hinton comes in maybe once a month with a cube van and loads up, but they only have the capacity of that cube van, and when it's full, it's full. But yeah, thank you for that.
Go ahead, Director Reid.
If I may, Deputy Mayor Frechette, I just want to highlight also that we still do have the Library of Things program at the Activity Center. So should someone need a smaller item, I mean, the food dehydrator goes out pretty regularly. There's a sewing machine. There's a set of wrenches. There's a bunch of things that you can get at the Library of Things. That would mean maybe you don't need to buy that or find it somewhere else in town. So just an extra resource to remind the residents that that's available.
Thank you, Director Reid. Any more questions for Director Reid before we let him go? Having seen none, would anybody care to make a motion that we receive Director Reid's report for information? Councillor Roger, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Director Reid. I always enjoy your presentations. You indeed are the bearer of joy and happiness. It never goes unnoticed. Thank you. Okay, item 6.3, Utilities Emergency Capital Funding Request. I guess that's a question for administration to handle.
Thanks very much, Deputy Mayor Frechette. I'm joined here by Director Donaldson. This item was discussed at committee last week. Just as a brief refresher for council, unfortunately, the municipality experienced a significant failure, a couple of significant failures of important equipment in our utilities. One was water supply pump 1, and the other was the structural rake arms at the primary clarifier at the water treatment plant. I think council saw that in person when we did the facility tours. The recommendation coming from committee to council is that council approve the allocation of approximately $1.2 million from the utility capital reserve to fund the emergency replacement of those two items. There is one update that we want to provide some additional clarity on the budget impacts. There was an omission, a typo in the financial reports, financial implications section of the report. And I can speak to that, or Director Donaldson can.
Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor and Council. So for the full clarification there again, and we did discuss this briefly last week, but the utility capital reserve opening balance is $3,118,020 with 2026 contributions of an additional $1,911,574 minus a previous approved allocation of $625,000. We'll have a projected balance of $4,404,594. If we were to have approval of this emergency allocation of $1,230,000, that would leave us with a projected 2026 ending balance of $3,174,594.
Thank you for that, Director Donaldson. Is there more communication from administration? Oh, sorry, Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Frechette. I have a question about this reserve. This reserve must have existed before we went with the 3C model for billing for utilities. Am I correct in that one?
Deputy Mayor Frechette for Councillor Hall. The municipality, I believe, had reserve for utilities. It was not described as clearly, and so the council approved reserves policy. It was the first time that we identified that clearly in a way that the public could see and defined how it would be funded. And so I think the municipality has long had reserves available to support utilities. They became much more transparent with the adoption of the reserves policy. And at the last meeting, at the committee meeting, we did discuss how I'm going to be going off memory here, but at approximately 2022, the balance of that reserve when the policy was initially created was about $600,000. And so at the same time, when we created the reserve and the CCC model with the express intention of building up reserves to fund utilities capital, it's now increased to the point where it's at $4.4 million, which provides us the capacity to be able to make these emergency repairs.
Thank you for that. And that would answer my next question, which was, would it be safe to say that this 1.23 million that we're needing is coming out of reserves from that capital piece of the 3C model, which I just think speaks to why maintaining healthy reserves is very important and why this utility funding model is working.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette. Through you to Councillor Hall. You're absolutely correct. One thing to note there as well is that with our utility master plan, which Council approved last year, we likely would have had one of these items in the plans for replacement in the 2027 budget year. So we're just doing that 1 year ahead of schedule.
Thank you, Director Donaldson. Any further questions for Director Donaldson or CEO Given? Thank you. So, sorry, Councillor Melnick, I don't know if you had your hand up there.
No, all good.
Okay, thank you. You're a little ways away from me there. Okay, and I don't know if we're looking for a motion here. Anybody would like to make the motion? Councillor Roger?
Make the motion that council approve the allocation of $1,230,000 from the utility capital reserve for the emergency replacement of water supply pump 1 and wastewater treatment plant primary clarifier rake arms.
Thank you, Councillor Roger. All in favor? Unanimous, carried. Thank you. Item 6.4, paid parking. I believe administration is going to speak to this. Thank you.
Sure, Deputy Mayor Frechette. Again, this is an item from Committee of the Whole last week. At that time, administration presented a report that highlighted our recommendation on how we can meet the paid parking revenue target that was set by Council in the approved 2026 budget. The report is reflected in the recommendation that's coming forward to Council from the committee. That recommendation is that Council increase the 2026 paid parking rates to $7 an hour on street, $7 an hour off street, and $28 per full day in off street parking lots.
Thank you, CEO Given. Any discussion? Councillor Roger?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette, and through you to Mr. Given. I just had a question just to confirm. The limit for residents in town is 2 hours, or is it only for paid parking that's 2 hours?
Thanks very much, Deputy Mayor Frechette, for Councillor Rogers. So the minutes. So just and I think Director Nadam may be online. So if when I inevitably bungle this, she can clarify it. But I'll separate the idea of paid parking from the municipality's regulation of parking on street. There is a 2-hour limit for parking on street in the downtown zone for everyone. So whether you're a visitor who has paid for your parking or whether you're a resident, there's a 2-hour limit where you can leave your vehicle in the downtown zone. So that's that issue. Separately, under the paid parking program at the current time, there is no requirement for residents to pay for parking in the downtown area, but they are still subject to that other requirement of the other limitation, I should say, of 2 hours in any one particular location. And that limitation, that regulation existed well before the paid parking came into place in Jasper.
Thank you very much. I just had a couple of questions out in public, so I just want to make sure that it's out in the open and that's clear. Thank you.
Councillor Waxer?
The other clarification I might add to that is that the 2-hour limitation is year-round, whether paid parking is on or not.
Councillor Hall?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette. The proposed rates, 7 and 7 and 28, is that only for the summer months? Are we looking at doing paid parking year-round?
Deputy Mayor Frechette for Councillor Hall. The recommendation at committee was to keep all other elements of the program the same. So continuing with our peak summer season and not extending to a year-round season. There were no proposals to expand the areas that were covered. So it is simply a rate increase.
Thank you for that. And I wonder if we've engaged business community, what they would think about year-round parking. Like I would actually support increasing paid parking even more. Much like our friends down in Banff who have added a couple extra dollars that goes directly into a infrastructure or capital fund. I think that makes a lot of sense considering, visitors put the most pressure on our infrastructure. And if we can have them help fund maintenance and renewal, it would take the burden off taxpayers. So I'm just curious if we know what the business community thinks or what residents think about moving paid parking to a year-round format.
Deputy Mayor Fichette, for Councillor Hall. So administration hasn't undertaken any public engagement on this. There was some discussion last week about other alternatives and approaches, and whether there might need to be more time for public comment or on this recommendation. From the administrative perspective, we believe that anything materially different should probably have some public engagement, and we're getting close to the time where we would like to be able to start to make the plans for the upcoming season. So if council had an inkling or a thought that they would like to do something materially different, it might be a good time to flag that now so that we could do consultation and engagement over the course of this season in advance of the 2027 budget discussions and the operation of a 2027 program. So I think the nature of the discussion last week was council has set an increased target for revenue. Administration is confident that these numbers can meet that target. If council wants to have a broader discussion about the program itself and the parameters and the areas and the philosophy behind it, then administration is ready to support that. We should probably do that for a future year. Do that this year for a future year if council wish to.
Thank you, CEO Given. So just for clarity for myself, are we still saying that the residents do not have to pay for parking? Is that what I might understand?
Deputy Mayor Fichette, that's correct.
Thank you. Any other questions for Director Given or CEO Given? Sorry. Okay. Anybody would like to make a motion? Councillor Waxer.
A recommendation that that council increase the 2026 paid parking rates to $7 an hour on street, $7 an hour off street, and $28 full day off street.
Thank you, Councillor Waxer. I'll call the question. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Is anybody care to speak to the motion?
If I may, I'm absolutely in favor of this motion, and I wonder, once this motion either is passed or not passed, is there an opportunity to make? I would like to talk about paid parking on a year-round program, increasing dollars to fund a capital reserve of some kind or infrastructure reserve of some kind. I'm just curious. Do you need to know that right now? Do we bring that up in the summer? When do you need to know?
Deputy Mayor Fichette for Councillor Hall. So first, I think council can give direction on the 2026 program now. If there's any follow-up action, a council member or council can take a couple different avenues. You could raise a motion referring something to administration here today, and we could come back to council with a report at a future date. You could choose to add it to an upcoming council committee of the whole agenda and raise the topic there, which would be where council could kind of have the same effect at that time, with other council members maybe in attendance. So there's a couple different ways that that council could raise that. You certainly could do it here today. You could do it through the committee of the whole process as well.
Thank you, CEO Gibbon. So I will call the question again. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. I did vote. Sorry. Okay, proceeding on to item 7. Notices of motion. I see none here. Sorry, Councillor Hall.
Question for CAO, given would this be an appropriate time to make a notice that I will make a motion next week at committee around, this has been on our agenda. I don't think anyone's used it in my term. I'm just curious where I would do that.
Funny, Deputy Mayor Fichette and I were discussing notice of motion earlier today. Under our procedure bylaw, notice of motion is actually a pretty specific tool that requires a member of council to have a motion written out, submitted to administration in advance of the preparation of the agenda so that the motion could be published with the agenda. Totally different thing. Councillor Hall, if you wish to have 2027 paid parking program added to the committee of the whole agenda for next week to raise that discussion, I think all the people that are in the room that influence the creation of that agenda are in the room, and we can just take that and we put it on with your name beside it.
Thank you for that.
Okay, Councillor Malik, I apologize, I didn't look at your hands. I don't know if you had a question or not earlier.
No, I'm good. I'm listening intently and following along.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving along to item number 8, Councillor reports. Councillor Waxer.
Yes, last Friday I attended the Impact Awards, honoring the impact that our municipal employees have on the well-being of the community. It was a very, very well orchestrated event. I think we were very lucky to have former Mayor of Edmonton, Don Iveson, speak and offer words of wisdom. And it was a wonderful opportunity for council and to offer appreciation to our municipal employees who work so hard.
Thank you, Councillor Waxer. Any other reports? Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Frechette. Yesterday, myself, Councillor Roger and Councillor Waxer attended a Recovery Advisory Committee meeting in the afternoon. Last Monday, I know this is not one of my assigned committees, but I did sit on a Zoom with the Prairies chapter of the Climate Caucus, learned all about a Green Initiative Fund through FCM, and it was quite informative. And again, I'm happy to pass on those invites to all of council because I find these Zooms quite helpful.
And myself, I attended a board of directors meeting on the 26th in Edson to sit with the board of directors regarding loan applications. Also, I attended the Pathfinder celebration, which was a fabulous event to meet other Pathfinders and to enjoy a lovely meal together and commiserate with that wonderful organization. Very proud to be a member. And likewise, I did attend the municipal employee award ceremonies, and I was very impressed with the turnout and the whole exercise of it. And I would like to acknowledge Lisa Daniels for her incredible event that she put together. It ran very smoothly, and I don't think it could have happened without her. Anyway, that's all I have. Ralph, sorry, go ahead. Councillor Melnick.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Frechette. On Friday the 27th, I had an opportunity to participate in an Alberta Municipalities webinar regarding the recent provincial budget that was presented on Thursday and summarizing the impacts, what it means to municipalities. Very challenging times right now in financing, both provincially, federally, and municipally. And we are in for some interesting times coming ahead. While this did not directly impact the municipality, one of the announcements was that the provincial room levy of 4% will be moving to 6%. So in a tourism destination where we have a 5% GST, a 6% tourism levy by the province, and then a 3% destination marketing fee, we now are at a point where we're at around 12-13% of a hotel bill being taxed, being surcharged. So the reason I bring that up is we had a recently, like the last point, was talking about paid parking. And I just want to make sure that individuals are aware that, you know, while we have our visitors here, I am somewhat concerned that we need to have a buy-in by the business community that if we look at raising paid or using paid parking through the entire year could have some devastating effects here in the community. But there's a lot of things going on right now as it relates to municipal funding. And we are going to have some challenging times coming up.
Thank you, Councillor Melnick. Councillor Waxer.
Thank you. I'll also speak to my membership and participation in the Family and Community Support Services Association Board. The provincial budget maintained the funding for FCSS AA or for the FCSS programs across the province. However, there's been lots of lobbying over the last number of years because of huge growth in population, as well as many years of no increases. That there's great concern in that community around the ability to stretch that grant for municipalities. To stretch it to today's standards, it's actually a reduction. So I know there's a lot of concern in that area. I'm sure Director Reid would agree with that. And the other thing I would just briefly speak about, it's Jasper's turn this time to host the Yellowhead Region's regional meeting. Spring meeting and that will be, I met yesterday to do some of the planning with some of our local staff, and that will be occurring March 20th here in the quorum room.
Thank you, councillors, for your reports. Item 9, upcoming events. We have a public hearing on proposed 2026 offsite levies bylaw. That'll be held here in the quorum room at 1:30 p.m. March 24th. Also, we have the AB Munis 2026 Spring Municipal Leaders Caucus. That's March 26th, 27th in Edmonton. Federal Canadian Municipalities Annual Conference, June 4th to 7th in Edmonton. Proceeding to agenda number 10, we will have an in-camera session. And pursuant to that, could I have a motion, please, to go into in-camera? Councillor Waxer, thank you.
We need to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. All in favor? Carried.
Deputy Mayor Frechette, administration believes that there may be an item coming out of the in-camera session. And so for those that are watching along online, we're going to have to boot them out of our Zoom platform. Unfortunately, I can't predict exactly when we'll return. Administration doesn't believe that this will be a long presentation, but we are expecting to return out of camera, subject to council, obviously, with a recommendation. And so there will likely be a return to public session. Obviously, that will be recorded on our Zoom platform and posted as a part of the YouTube recording of this meeting. And any motions that arise in that part of the public forum would also be a part of the minutes. I think typically our YouTube posts are made very shortly after the meeting, the next day, or certainly by the end of the week. So anybody that would want to see what action arose coming out of in camera would be able to see that on YouTube in the next day or so.
Thank you for that, CO Gibbon, for that clarity. Thank you. Okay, we are now back out of camera. We will proceed to the board appointments.
Sure. Thanks very much, Deputy Mayor Frechette. Administration is here with respect to appointments to the Jasper Municipal Housing Corporation Board of Directors. As Council knows, the JMHC is a municipally controlled corporation. It was formed under the Corporations Act. It means that it has a shareholder, and there's only one shareholder, that's the municipality of Jasper. And Council acts as the shareholder by making resolutions at the Council table. One of the duties of shareholders is to make appointments to the board of directors of corporations. And our public members for the JMHC, our previous public members' appointments had expired at March 1st. Over the early part of this year, administration undertook advertising to seek public members for appointment. And we're here with a recommendation that council appoint 2 members for a 1-year term from March 2026 to March 2027. And 2 members for a 2-year term from March 2026 to March 2028. The process that administration followed, I should say that we received a number of applications. I believe there were 8 applications received. Administration evaluated all of the applications using the council approved skills matrix. So previous council approved a matrix of the skills that would be important to have reflected on the board. Administration evaluated each of the individual applicants to assess their skills and the overall composition of the board. Council's had an opportunity to review that information, and administration is making that recommendation that council appoint 4 individuals to fill the public member positions, 2 of the individuals for a 1-year term and 2 for a 2-year term. The intention behind having different lengths of term is to ensure that we actually don't end up in a place like we are now where all of the public members expire at the same time, and it just helps a little bit with board continuity. So myself or Leanne would be happy to answer any questions that council might have. But again, council had the opportunity to review the applications and has the recommendation from administration about making the appointments. We'd just look to council to choose who you'd like to appoint to the board and make that motion here. The next step, administration would provide a written shareholder resolution following a council motion, and that's how the municipality of Jasper exercises its rights as a shareholder of the corporation. So first step is council makes a motion. Administration would translate that motion into a written shareholder resolution, and that shareholder resolution is how the board members would technically be appointed.
Thank you for that explanation, CEO Given. Any discussion, questions? Okay, I call the motion. Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Frechette. I would make the motion that council representing the municipality of Jasper as the sole Jasper Municipal Housing Corporation shareholder appoint the following individuals to the JMHC Board of Directors. For a 1-year term from March 2026 to March 2027, Virginilla Cerezo and Marlissa Morrow. And for a 2-year term, March 2026 to March 2028, Scott Wilson and Serge Martin.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. Item 11. Would anybody like to make the motion that we adjourn? Councillor Waxer, thank you.
That there being no further business, the regular meeting of March 3rd, 2025 be adjourned, 2026 be adjourned at 4:40.
Thank you for the motion. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.